We're back. UFC Saudi this weekend, joined by the usual suspects, Mr. Smith and Mr. Smith. How are we doing, fellas?
doing all right, Dan. Doing all right.
Yeah, all good.
How are you,
Short
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I'm good. It's a short trip for fight fans. We was in Dubai and now we're in Riyadh, so we're not going too far. And to be fair, this card is surprisingly good. A lot of these fight night cards can be very top heavy, and look, not all these fights are great, but there's some very good and interesting fights here to talk about.
Yeah. It's well better than the pay-per-view we're getting next week. The pay-per-view next week is absolute dog shit. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's absolute dog shit, mate.
Anything with Sean Strickland on.
Yeah, you compare this week's main event to next week's main event, and you take this week's all day long over next week's. And Israel Adesanya is working his way down. Well, he's had to go to take a step backwards. I was going to say he's working his way down the pecking order, which he kind of is having to, because he's still ranked number 2, but he's had to reassess himself, training with different people, and he's fighting the Frenchman Nassourdine Imavov, 15-4, 3-fight win streak, 7-2 in the UFC. He last beat Brendan Allen. Is he the right fight now for Adesanya at this stage in his career? It's a case of, will he be fighting these up-and-coming guys, or is he ready to get back in the mix? Because the two guys that are fighting for the title aren't exactly world beaters.
No, but they did beat him.
He's lost to them both. Yeah. But it's a difficult thing with his end. With the repeated title shots when he'd lost it over the years. I don't know where you two sit on this, but I think it's a good fight for him at this point. I think this is the fight that Izzy needs at this point.
Definitely, this is one that he has to take, because look, as we said, he's lost to Sean Strickland. To be fair, I give Sean Strickland a lot of grief, but that was an excellent performance in that fight, and that was sort of every dog has his day. That was his day. That was the sort of, that was where everything went for him, and a fantastic performance. Lost to Du Plessis as well. Again, Du Plessis is a man that can win from any situation. So that is what he is, an elite winner. He might not be sort of an aesthetic and an elite fighter, but he definitely wins fights, and that's what happened there. It's just the fight is where he finds himself now. It's a case, and the middleweight division isn't very strong in depth. So when he fights a guy like Imavov, that's probably more, that is just the next guy for him, because who else is he going to fight? He can't fight Whittaker again. And obviously Pereira's up in light heavyweight, and probably don't want to do all that again. So this is the next up. Imavov's he's won some fights in a row. He lost to Strickland as well in a much less impressive display from the American. But he is on a 3-fight win streak. He gets the job done again at not beating anyone incredible. I think Cannonier win was really good, but it's Allen and Curtis. These aren't crazy wins. So we'll see. And this is a huge chance for Imavov to really show himself. And this is, you're going to get no better opportunity than this. A bit winning against Adesanya probably means more than a win over any contender in the division. So if he can get this done on Saturday, then this is it for him, and that probably puts him on a 4-fight win streak and title shot next.
Oh yeah, 100%, Nathan. Well, I think you've got to see it as two different motivations going into this. Imavov is looking at, I've got a big star in front of me here. This is my chance to break through and get to the top. Whereas Izzy, he's thinking, right, I need to go back to the drawing board a bit. I need to test myself. He needs to test himself against a guy who's lower ranked in the division, because obviously he's had a few losses and whatnot. And but yeah, you've got to see it as two different motivations. I think the cards align in Imavov's favour a little bit, because he's really good at mixing his takedowns and stuff. And when you look at his past few fights with the Cannonier, Delidze, Brendan Allen, he's took all of them down, and all of them are somewhat good wrestling base. They're not, and so I think the grappling is going to cause problems for Izzy, but it's not something new to Izzy. He's faced plenty of guys like Imavov, so it's definitely an exciting one to watch for me personally.
Absolutely. Do you think Izzy can keep it on the feet with him? Do you think he can keep it to his niche, his style? Because ultimately, that's what he's going to need. That's where his main weakness is. I mean, you look at his record, his kickboxing record, but let alone his MMA record.
Bloody hell. No. What is it, like 116 or something? 116 wins and like 14 losses or something like that.
It's good. I just don't know if Imavov's faced anybody of near Adesanya's level that he can nullify what Adesanya will bring.
Yeah.
I think it's dependent on the level that Adesanya has at this current point, probably more than anything, because there's no way last year, if we're talking about this fight last year, no way. But we'll have to see it. This is, to be honest, the pressure's on Adesanya, and we talked about before in the last video about PFL and Paul Hughes. That was his stock's gone up after that defeat because people didn't expect him to really hang with him. That's where Imavov finds himself in. It's a win, well, not win-win, but if he can put in lose a close decision, then that is a good situation for him. And then it's on Adesanya to really do something that tells people, look, I am still here, I'm still capable, and I will be the next champion, because there probably is stock in a rematch with Duplessis. I mean, the build-up was a bit funny with that one, but that they are the two featherweight fighters outside of Hamzat Chimaev, so why not?
Yeah,
absolutely. I know we've bigged up that fight and the main event. It is a quality main event, especially for a fight night card. But the co-main event, it makes me mouth water every time I think about it. Now, the confidence in Michael Venom Page, he's hardly took any damage over the years. He's 37 years of age, and he looks like a 27-year-old. Now, he's venturing up to middleweight to fight a very, 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 very dangerous contender in Sharot Magomedov. Now, MVP says he still wants a title run at 170. Now, we all know how the previous fight with Ian Gary ended. Ian Gary just had to make it boring, so he won the fight. That's as simple as I'm going to get with that. But this opportunity is knocked for MVP to fight a big contender at 185. And if he does beat Magomedov, he could be potentially 1 or 2 fights away at middleweight. If they said to him, would you stay at middleweight and we'll work your way towards a title shot? I mean, you look at the two in the main event next week, who we've mentioned, Duplessis and Strickland. I'd fancy MVP against either of them now, let alone facing. I'm not saying that he should face them before Magomedov or jump any sort of queue, but if we were to match them now, MVP with either of those two in the middleweight title fight, I'd back our boy. I might be being a bit biased there, but I just think stylistically, and especially against them two, as I said, they're not world beaters. They don't exactly shine a light on the. The Duplessis is the most boring. He's the best boring fighter in the world, as everybody keeps calling him. Do you know what I mean? He can just get through fights. I don't know where you two stand on this fight, boys, but I think it's absolutely mouthwatering.
Yeah, well, I think going up in weight will help MVP a lot, to be honest, especially with his, especially being a bit older as well at 37 compared to Shara. I'm not quite sure how old he is. He kind of late 20s, like, so to speak. I'm not quite sure where his age is at, but I think I'm the only thing that worries me is it going to be another MVP versus Ian Gary? Are we just going to see a load of naff, a load of nothingness? Like, that's the only thing that worries me, because I was so hyped for the Ian Gary MVP fight, and then the fight I was just really disappointed with. But
yeah, that can be a bit of an MVP special, can't it? Where you get really excited about him versus someone, and then you watch the fight and it's not quite the way you want it. MVP probably at his best when he's fighting guys that you know he's going to knock out, because you don't know how he's going to do it. That's sort of the difference. Whereas when he fights the guys that are on his level, he tends to get a bit defensive, very tactical. So we'll see. I mean, obviously the power is going to be interesting. We know what MVP has, but Shara's got crazy power. But again, for him, this is he's not fought someone like MVP before, and MVP has probably seen guys like Shara before. He's fought guys on that level, so it's that sort of tale as old as time, really, with the two fighters that are on different paths in their career, and now he's meeting the toughest test of his and let's see if he can, because Shara, look, he's not the greatest human ever, but he's someone that has real potential to be a star in that area for the UFC. Already probably is, to be honest, and to be put on the co-main against MVP is probably a sign of that. And again, middleweight, as you say, it's not deep, So one or two good wins. I mean, I don't know what his relationship with Khamzat Chimaev's like, but hell, that could be a really big fight in that area of the world one day. So, they'll be hoping, probably UFC probably rooting for Shara on this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like the Ian Gary fight. Two strikers out there. An MVP, as you say, Nathan, he's fought a lot of people similar to the Bullets level, and MVP's just been in a Polaris grappling match at middleweight. So that's when the opportunity knocked and he got offered it. He said, yeah, well, I'm around that weight now. So it made me cut a bit less intense. And plus, he's boxed at cruiserweight. I can't remember what he fought at bare knuckle, if that was middleweight or light heavyweight. Either way, MVP has fought in every single possible weight class in and around where he's walking around or wherever he's healthy enough to get down to that weight. And if there's a big opportunity, he will take it. So fair play to him, because he is that guy. And to fight, I know Kevin Holland's Kevin Holland, and he's been like they get the guy to open the door for the newbies to the UFC over the last 12 months in MVP and Derrida. The fights with Ian Gary and this one now with Magomedov, nobody can knock what MVP is about. He is that guy, and if you look at him, he's hardly took any damage, and that's surprising for a guy that's been around so long.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nathan. Go on, mate. Sorry, mate.
It is surprising, because again, he's fought a lot of top names. I mean, he was like the Bellator draw for a while, especially in London. I mean, he came out with Skepta at one. Literally got a song. There's a song sort of pretty much named after him, So this guy is a big deal, and so the fact that he's still very fresh and able to take damage. I mean, everyone probably remembers that Douglas Lima knockout. That was one hell of a knockout, to be fair. But he's still very good, and he's a threat to anyone. And to be honest, I probably think MVP's fit in the UFC is that sort of gatekeepery position. So let's see if he can prove me wrong.
Yeah, I like that. And working our way down the card, we've got the two that stick out for me is the heavyweight matchups. Gaziev versus Peterson. I think that might be a banger. They've got a shitload of knockouts between them already. They're two fringe contenders on the way up. But the other one, Pavlovich versus, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his surname. Loads of people can pronounce it. Who said that? Which one said that?
Rosenstrike. Yeah, this will be I mean, Pavlovich needs to win. That's as simple as this one is for him. He had a really poor display against. I mean, that was Volkov was incredible, that fight, but it wasn't a good display. Obviously, lost to Tom Aspinall very quickly. He's really got to turn this around. And it's a good opponent, Rosenstrike. Rosenstrike's probably gonna, stand and look at him, and then let's see. Because if Rosenstrike throws, which he's not always privy to do, but if he does, I mean, there's an immense amount of power there, and that will test Pavlovich. It's just whether he gets the chance to, because as soon as Pavlovich touches you, you're likely to go down. So it's going to be. I hope it's quick in the sense of if this goes to a decision, then it's probably not going to be a good fight. If this ends quickly, then it's going to be everything we expect from it.
Absolutely. It's a massive night for Pavlovich, isn't it? Like the Volkov fight, it was incredible. The Aspinall fight, Tom's going to do what he's going to do. But before that, he was on a bit of a run, Pavlovich, and he was sort of seen as a future potential star at heavyweight. He was sort of like the guy on the come up, and then they just sort of fed him to Aspinall, and then Volkov defeat afterwards. Don't know where you sit on this, Alex.
Again, similar to Adesanya and Imavov, I think again it's two different motivations. Like you say, Sergey's on a 2-fight, Sergey Pavlovich on a 2-fight skid, and he's like, shit, I've got to get this one back. And Rosenstrike is coming off a 2-fight win streak, so he's probably on a high right now, thinking, "Oh, Sergey, the guy everyone thought was a boogeyman, like I'm gonna go in." But Rosenstrike's last fight was against Taito Iwata and won against on a split decision, and I think that was last year. And Taito Iwata has kind of fell off a bit, and if you go into a split with him, then I'm thinking this is where Sergey Pavlovich, just off sheer will and determination, will beat him. And plus Rosenstrike's getting on a bit now, so he's probably got a bit more chinny with age. And I know he's been chinned a few times, but as you get older, it's not like it's not like the chin strengthens, you know. So I think it's a good fight for both men. This is definitely one of my highlights for this card. I think this definitely, and one further down in the prelims when we get to, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, we'll get to that in a bit.
Nothing much else sticks out for me on the card other than the other Nurmagomedov. I've not seen much of him, so I'm just interested to see if he's as good, better, or worse than his cousins, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, however many the fucking is of them these days.
Yeah, no, that will be a really interesting fight. So Nurmagomedov, Vinicius, Oliveira. Nurmagomedov's almost had some really interesting fights come up. I'll just quickly get up the fights that he's unfortunately not been able to compete. And he was meant to fight Montel Jackson, Daniel Santos, and probably the most exciting one of those, Daniel Marcos, who's someone that is surging in that bantamweight division currently. But he's got a good record. But Oliveira, he's on a real streak, and he's good. He's good. He beat Ricky Simone. He's got good when he's on a streak right now. That will be interesting because, you know,
that's going to be a high level grappling match. That's going to be high intense. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And the Brazilians, they know how to grapple. They know how to get amongst all of that,
especially at the lower weights as well, Nath. Especially at the lower weights.
And then just also in the main card, Varasiam versus Mike Davis. I'm not too sure on Ziam. He's been around for a while, and I think he's finally started to put it together. Got a fantastic knockout against Rivola. That brings to memory. And for Mike Davis, he's just inconsistency is his issue. I don't remember too much of his recent work, but I remember the Mason Jones fight when I was really high on Mason Jones coming into the UFC, and that was a really excellent performance from both of them. But Davis was better, and you know he's been able to keep a pretty good run together. It's just he doesn't fight enough, really. But you know so the main card it could genuinely be very, very good, and one of potentially, if all goes well, one of the best cards here. It's going to have a bit of everything.
Yeah. This Ziam versus Mike Davis fight. This is the fight I was on about, which I'm actually quite looking forward to because Mike Davis doesn't fight too often, but when he does, he wins.
Don't sleep on Mike Davis.
Yeah, and Zayam. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce this gentleman's last name, but he's just come off a great knockout over Matt Frivola. I watched that live in UFC Paris. I come back from holiday from Salou, and when I got home, the UFC Paris was on, and as I've put it on, it was at that. It was literally about 5 seconds. I've seen Matt Frivola turn around and boom, knee to the head. He was gone, and I was very I was quite impressed. So I went back and watched some of his other fights, and he performs really well. I think he's got a good future ahead of him. If he gets past Mike Davis, I'd like to see him maybe against the guy in maybe like the top 10 or something like that, or maybe the top But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's a bit of a looked over fight, but I think he'll end up being a bit of a barn burner.
Absolutely, I think that's what's good about the bigger end fight nights shows, are the ones away from the Apex and the European shows, because it's got a bit of extra attention on it, whereas we might not watch the Apex shows where we would with these. So there might be one or two more where we've never seen before, and we go, wow, fucking hell, and then we go on Fight Pass and search or the rest of their work. But yeah, it's a monster card to look forward to. Anything else that you fellas want to add?
There's one more fight and one more fighter really that you got to highlight, because Terence McKinney, you don't know whether he's going to win, you don't know whether he's going to lose, but it will be quick and it will be fun. So he fights Hadzovic. Both guys, I think 15-7, 14-7. So it's going to be even. Both guys have lost a whole lot, but they've also won a whole lot. McKinney's so exciting, and I really wish it had gone better for him in terms of how it's happened in the UFC. But that's he lives by the sword, and he's a really fun fight to watch. So that one, you curse it when you say it's guaranteed to be fireworks, but I mean, I just can't see Terence McKinney fight being boring. So let's hope that doesn't change, and that's going to be a really fun one. And to be honest, what is not necessarily a stacked prelims, although that Bogdan Grad is someone that's all right and he's pretty decent, come through the Contender Series, has got some quick knockouts, but split decision in the Contender Series not ideal. And then you've got some heavyweights. You've got Jasmine Jasudavicius will go for. She's pretty good, and so we'll be interested to see how she gets on against Buena Souza. She's pretty strong, very strong grappler, which might not be again the most aesthetic fight, but she's a good fight, and she'll back her to get the job done.
Sorry, Nathan. Sorry, guys. Could I stop you there? But Myra Bueno Silva on the prelims, but not just on the prelims. She's the second fight on the prelims. When 2 fights ago, I remember being up at bloody 5 o'clock in the morning watching her fight for the title 2 fights ago. What is going on there? They have done her so dirty. I'm not sure if that's for time zone reasons or maybe it's a better time for Brazilians to watch her. I don't bloody know.
Listen, mate. Listen, that just happens. Aljamain Sterling was on the prelims the other week, and me and Nathan was scratching our heads. But I think if you look now, this is again to big up the fight night cards, and I don't really want to keep doing that because I think a lot of these fighters could be and should be on numbered cards, but they're not just top heavy anymore. I think they're spread out. I think with fighters like that, I think you're saying it like it's madness, like she's on the prelims. Like, good thing, because this card kicks off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday for us boys. 3 o'clock in the afternoon on TNT.
I'm going to miss some of it. That's never been a thing. I'm going to miss some of the event because I'm not at home, which is bizarre for UFC. Usually I'll be tucked up when it starts.
You'll be back in time for the main card,
I'll be back for the main. I'll be back for the main, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it finishing. No, you're all right, Dan. I was just going to say I finished training at 2 on Saturday, so my plan is go home, shower, food, straight down, straight in front of the TV. Just boom. That's me sorted.
Absolutely. We have the potential to have the main event at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, especially if some people get ran through and we're not having 15-minute dry, boring matchups.
Can't these heavyweights can't let us down and drag this card out, please. And I can't be dealing with that.
But I am in Octagon. I'm in Dusseldorf for Octagon 66 this weekend. I have a preview dropping. There's been some changes to the card as well, so that will be updated on the preview. We're going to do some content there, and we're going to do an instant review afterwards. That's the start of the Tip Sport middleweight game changer. So look out for that, guys. Don't forget to head over to our Instagram, follow us, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because we have a shitload of content on there with a wide range of fighters, WBC world champions, lads that haven't even made the amateur debut yet. Alex, all sorts like that. So there's loads for people to get the teeth into on both of our platforms that we use. So the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and all our other bits and pieces on Instagram. But thanks for tuning in, everybody.